Hi everyone, welcome to the Basics of Squares for Beginners Part 2, continuing straight from Part 1. And I know I once did circles for beginners and I don't want to go around in circles, that's why I'm doing squares now. Anyway, on to Part 2. Just one more usage of squares is a checkers or chessboard. It has symmetrical layout. That makes it easier for strategy in a game. That's just one more usage of squares. Oh, on the topic of chess, the 3 chess players up there. Who knows who those chess players are? In floor tiles or wall tiles, they often use squares. They have one advantage. With rectangles, you have to align it correctly, and it's not always that easy to arrange the alignments so that it fits in nicely, whereas with squares the job is much easier for aligning it. It makes the job easier, and for that reason it often leads to less waste. And of course, is it pleasing for the eye to look at? That's subjective. Some people might prefer one and some might prefer it the other way. And also beams in construction can often be squares. There can be many reasons. Sometimes you need the weight equally distributed on all sides. Sometimes, let's say pillar, arguably it looks better for the eye. And sometimes one big advantage, if you're making holes or spaces for the beams to fit into, if they all take on a square shape, it's the same openings and holes and whatever you attach it to each time. If it's a more rectangular shape, or it has sometimes have an eye shape like a capital I, you have to worry about how to orientate the holes or whatever. Whereas if it's a square, it's the same either way. It makes it easier. And of course, I'm not saying to you therefore beams should always be square. There's advantages to each and every situation. I'm just giving examples where you would prefer a square beam. And in talk about construction, even historically, squares have been many times in history. I mean, I could do a whole YouTube just on that. Just one example, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its base is a perfect square. There it is. And one other famous building is full of squares. The Louvre in Paris has got lots of little squares. That's beautiful because it's artistic. That's near the entrance of the Louvre. And a famous drawing called the Vitruvian, I hope I pronounced it right, by Leonardo da Vinci. That man is both in a square and in a circle, and it shows the relationship between geometry and human form. And I'm sure the act of waving your arms can make a circular shape, and he fits his body nicely into square as well, in an intentionally put square. And also, I have a very special cousin. Her name is Jennifer. She's a very talented artist. I'm not sure which adjective comes first, special cousin or talented artist, because both are very, very, very true. So they're both important and true adjectives. She taught me about a concept in art called the grid method. Let's say you're an artist or a learning artist. There's some sort of drawing or painting or picture you want to replicate somewhere else. You put a grid over it with squares. I'm sure it's done in a way that you don't damage the picture. And then you have like a little grid over here, and then you can replicate it like square by square. You get the proportions right. If something's rectangular with an angle, you get it just right. Just as one example, like I can see this bit of the lake starts at the bottom of one square and it reaches, well, here the lake's from the bottom of one square and almost the top of that square, and the end of the lake's just a little bit into that square, and we can do it bit by bit to replicate it here. And of course it's done in a way that at the end we will not see that grid. Maybe it's It's a pencil that you can erase without damaging your work you've done, or it's something you can paint over, draw over, but it's done in a way that it's no longer visible. And thank you, Jennifer, for teaching me about that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this lecture, or the square end, if I can call it that. What? It's not finished? Noodle says he wants to come back on camera. He was at the beginning of part one. Watch the. Noodle says he wants to hold up a sign for all the viewers. I don't know what the sign is, but I trust Noodles. If it's from Noodles, it can only be something nice. So with full trust, Noodles is coming back on camera, and I'm not going to look. Noodles said he doesn't want me to look. It's something for the viewers. Okay, Noodles, you hold this up for the viewers to watch. I'm going to keep Noodles in front of the camera, and I'm going to let you read what he wrote. I have not read what he wrote, but as I said, I trust Noodles totally. If he prepared this and wrote this, it can only be something nice. You cannot go wrong with Noodles. Okay, Noodles, is that enough time? Okay, he's going back now. Thank you all for watching.